Welcome to the Life Junkie podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Life Junkies podcast, episode 24. This is our WWE Hell in a Cell preview. We will be previewing Hell in a Cell. We'll also be talking about a few other things, NXT, AEW, schedule changes, everything. But first, before I get into anything else, I have now a long-term co-host, it seems, with me, Chris Johnson. Hello, Chris.
Hiya, mate. How's it going?
I'm good, mate, and you?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
Great. Now we've got a very British greeting out of the way.
Yeah.
This is the first podcast that we are recording with a new schedule change. So we have SmackDown, which is airing after us on Friday night. I think it'll be 12 p.m. Friday here, which is different to how they used to do it, because we used to get it before America on Fridays. We used to get it at 10 p.m. Not that I ever watched it at 10 p.m. because it's back in those days when I was living with my parents. The only TV that had Sky was downstairs in the living room, so I'd have to wait until Saturday mornings to watch it. Which was fine, but I get my dad walking through while he's doing bits and bobs while I'm sat in the living room, and he'd start taking the nick out of different wrestlers.
Yeah, I can imagine.
He still, to this day, does the Mr. Kennedy thing. The Mr. Kennedy.
Is he dead?
No.
No.
He runs a wrestling school with Daivari.
Wow.
I know. He was in AEW not AEW. He was in TNA for a bit.
Yeah.
Under the name of Ken Anderson.
Yeah.
He was another one. I was a really big fan of him. Really good. And then Randy Orton ruined him as well. Randy Orton keeping wrestlers down, keeping the old wrestling tradition of putting the boot on the younger guys that on you. This is also just a random bit of trivia, a random bit of Life Junkies trivia. This is the first and only pay-per-view that I've done a YouTube review. It'll come up if you're watching on YouTube at the end, but it's still there. It's like the second or first video that I did on Life Junkie. It's worth going back and watching it if you haven't, just for how bad it is. I haven't done one since because I didn't like doing that format, and that was actually part of that. From that was why I started doing podcasts, because I wanted to have a longer format to chat about it instead of trying to write myself a script and record it all. And because stuff like that as well, for it to be any good, it's fairly time sensitive. You've got to get it out straight away.
Yeah.
And so to write a script and get everything done when you exist as a person in a world where you have jobs and children and other such commitments was just too much for me to do. Anyway, while I'm jabbering on about Life Junkie stuff, let's actually talk about wrestling. And Chris has written this, huge CM Punk rumours doing the rounds. What huge CM Punk rumours have got you really excited, Chris?
Well, they haven't got me excited. I want to put that out. All I'm saying is I've heard a few things this week and seen a few things that a lot of people are expecting, I would say is the word, CM Punk to make some kind of appearance at SmackDown on Friday on the new channel, first show, new set, new build-up. And I think from what they've heard people like Triple H say, and he has not in any way said that CM Punk's going to turn up, but just saying, the door's kind of open, never say never. Vince McMahon saying they're always open for business, that maybe they've come around to talking to each other, and maybe he might make an appearance. I mean, it would be a great coup for them on the night. Whether or not it happens or not, I don't know. It could be somebody taking one-on-one and making three, but then again, maybe not.
Well, when do wrestling fans ever do that, Chris?
I know.
They're always such a sensible bunch.
Yeah, not fickle at all either in any way.
There seems to always be rumours with Punk, any sort of event, and there's rumours of Punk flying around. Anything that happens in Chicago, Punk's going to be there. It was All In was the first one. People were sure that CM Punk was going to, and of course we've had All Out was the other one that he was meant to be showing up in, and that was because he was doing on the StarCast thing of the event they do the weekend around that pay-per-view. Yeah. And he had a little talk on there, and everyone said, well, this is proof he's going to be on the pay-per-view because he's doing this. And then he hasn't. I haven't seen any rumours about him being on SmackDown, but what I have seen rumours about him being part of a Fox show, basically reviewing SmackDown.
Okay.
So I don't know. That would mean that he's directly working for Fox, not WWE, so he wouldn't have to deal with any of her side of things, and he could say what he wanted as a reason.
Yeah. Well, that could happen then. Maybe that's what's going to happen.
Well, there was rumours about it a little weeks ago, auditioning for it, and I saw more week. I didn't any Punk rumours. I tend to ignore it because there's always Punk rumours. It's like any time Ryback comments are never so, and he's got very little. It's one of those things. As soon as you see it, you turn off on that.
Yeah.
By the way, I was a huge CM Punk. Wasn't Chris hates the Chris?
Oh, yeah, you'd be right there, mate. I wasn't a massive CM Punk fan, to be honest. It was great on the mic eventually, and he had some good rivalries and stuff like that. But I always just thought he was very unbelievable in the ring, as in not great unbelievable, as in I didn't believe that he would beat the people he beat. Very much like Rey Mysterio beating the Great Khali or the Big Show, and I think that let it down a little bit. So on his return, it'd be nice.
Beat the Great Khali.
I very much doubt that, mate. Very much doubt that.
He's military trained, to be fair.
There you go, you see. So yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I would actually quite like to see him return, just to see the dynamic it would bring, and where it would fit in and things. But it's not something I'm holding out for, to be honest.
Well, he is. The thing is, whether you like him or not, he is a bona fide superstar of wrestling. Like, there's not even. I don't think there's anyone currently wrestling now that comes close to that. I think Brock would be the closest you could say, but I think because of Brock's career and how it's been, I wouldn't say you could label Brock as a superstar. He is a massive draw, and he's one of the biggest they have, or probably the biggest they have.
No, he's a superstar, mate. He's a superstar. Something ridiculous.
All right, you can go stroke your Brock Lesnar calendar when you in a minute when you finish.
Thank you.
Punk, and I've talked about being a fan of Jeff Hardy on the podcast before. Punk was part of probably my favourite rivalry with himself, of course, Jeff Hardy, and the man we're about to talk about next, John Morrison. That was a brilliant era when those three were the top lights on SmackDown. I've talked about it on here, but I'm sure I talked about it when I talked about Kofi in my long rants.
You did.
But that was the trio, and they framed it as Punk was the star heel, Jeff Hardy was that star, and neither of them weren't really established properly there, but they were leaders.
Yeah.
And they were draws. And then Morrison was this young lad that's coming up to challenge them. And that was a really interesting time, and I really enjoyed having Morrison on SmackDown again. Chris, because Chris hates the smaller wrestlers. Chris, were you a fan of John Morrison?
No.
Do surprise me. And again, people might not know him just by John Morrison. He's Johnny Nitro, Johnny Impact. What was the other name? John Heinegan, which I think is his real name.
Now, I think.
And so he's someone I'm quite excited. He's re-signed with WWE. Chris, do you see a place for him on the roster, or?
Thing is, there's so many wrestlers, average, middle of the road wrestlers now in WWE, that he'll make it when he first comes back. He'll be around for a while, and he might probably get a couple of pay-per-views, and then he'll just drop into the background with the rest of the crew they've got back there. You know, there's so many jobbers.
I would argue that he's not an average wrestler. He's actually someone that's a bit different. He's very inventive with his offense. And I think he would slot into that class where you're looking at AJ Styles, where he'll be able to stand out no matter what bad booking he's given.
Well, you say that, but then you've got people like Aleister Black who are in that bracket and aren't even getting any kind of screen time at all, not even on TV.
Yeah, but if Aleister Black walked out on SmackDown on Friday, people would take notice because he's Aleister Black and he's completely different to anyone else. Just because Vince isn't using him doesn't mean that he's falling into rank and file with Jerry Generic.
If you're not on TV, though, you're not anywhere, unfortunately. You're not getting on a pay-per-view, you're not on TV, so you just get forgotten about. And like I said, I think when Morrison does make his return, he will be around and he'll be the flavour of the month for a while. But then I think he'll probably just disappear again. I don't know, maybe they'll leave, because look at the Miz. The Miz is doing nothing. Maybe that becomes a tag team. I don't know, what else they can do with them, to be honest.
Morrison and The Miz, I love that tag team. They were brilliant together. That was the real making of both of those men's career. Like, Morrison, he was good in M&M, but that was him and Mercury. But they were the men behind Melina, who was the face, and she was the personality group. She was the one that stood out and the one you looked at. And it helped that she did that split onto the ring.
Yeah.
And But and then he sort of, once they split up, he struggled to gain any traction, and then it was being slotted that allowed him to be him and to stand out and not have to worry. And of course, he was in the end he was tanked by Melina, who he's not with now. Which she sees nothing but a destructive personality in his life and just in general.
Yeah.
There's issues. She's slept with Batista, and she outwardly put on Twitter about him using Viagra or some form of blue pill. It is a weird thing, and she was of course pretty much the direct reason he left, because that was over the Trish Stratus issue.
Yeah.
Where she felt like Trish Stratus shouldn't be coming back and taking a spot, even though Trish is a bona fide legend. And she's by the way, she's proved that as well since, especially in the most recent match at SummerSlam. Yes, it was SummerSlam, wasn't it?
Yes.
And she made him Trish with a lack of respect. And when you've got a woman that is not just that well regarded in the business, but that well regarded backstage within the company, and you're being disrespectful, you're done basically at that point. So hopefully you can have a better run and a bit more of a positive run without her around.
Yeah, cool.
Brilliant. Let's take a break for a 2, and we will come back and we will talk about NXT and AEW.
This is a life-changing podcast.
And we are back. So, NXT is now on actual TV if you're American, and AEW is now on live on actual TV if you're American. But what have we got? So we have got NXT still on the WWE Network, and we get the full WWE Network, full NXT. It seems that you only get an hour on. Who is it? Is it on USA?
Yeah, it's on the same as Raw.
So it seems like you only get an hour of NXT, and then we get an extra half-hour run over. I think the idea is to encourage people to invest in the network. And AEW we can watch on the ITV hub on from 7 p.m. tonight.
Yeah, I think so.
So Fight TV get a certain amount of exclusivity because you got to pay for the service. And this was the issue when they first came in. The idea is AEW was going to air here on Sunday nights. Was it?
Yes, I believe so.
And then with an hour highlight show on Monday nights. And people kicked off, that's going to be after your pay-per-views, because your pay-per-views are on Saturdays, and why are we missing out? Because you're trying to force us to pay for a Fight TV subscription. So they changed it during this week that we're going to give you on ITV Hub. You can watch a 2-hour show from Thursday at 7 p.m. So cool. So we're not particularly screwed. It's fairly easy. ITV Hub is free for anyone in the UK.
Yeah,
it's a free TV. ITV is free to view generally. So it's all good. So we get this and that. Now, the issue with this means that me and Chris haven't been able to watch either of them yet, because NXT, we now have to wait an extra day, isn't it, for it to go out live on the
on tonight.
Network?
Yeah,
so
Thursday.
It was technically on. Yeah, so it's technically on. So American audiences got them both last night. We have to wait till tonight to watch the new episodes. I'm a week behind on NXT anyway, so I've watched the first one with the US title match, where Roderick Strong takes the belt, and then the street fight at the end.
Yes.
So I'm a little bit behind of what's going on anyway, but Chris has today got a decent overview up.
Yeah.
So what's your takeaway? Should we start with NXT?
Yeah, I think so. So it was good. I think it was good last week. It was good this week. Still the same program, really. Same kind of size venue, same build and stuff like that. But it's NXT is good. It's grown on me a lot over the last 6 months since we've been doing this podcast. Really, it's something I would never have watched, but now I quite enjoy watching it on a night. It's good to see the Undisputed Era holding all the gold, which is something that you wanted for a long time, I believe, isn't it?
I've been banging that drum for a long time, but there is something that is going to cause an issue for that now, which I believe is Adam Cole's injury. So it looks like he's going to be dropping the belt. I thought he already might have dropped the belt. That's what I'd heard. But
really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. I will get something up in a minute. Yeah, no, it's I think it was some form of leg injury. But again, so I'm so out of the loop on this that I realised I hadn't watched NXT since Toronto, basically, and NXT UK since Cardiff. So I've over the weekend and the start of this week, every spare minute I'm not doing uni work, I've been trying to catch up a bit. So I'm now up to date on NXT UK, and I am now, as of tonight, I'll be 2 weeks, but I'm 1 week behind as of last night. If that makes any sense to anyone else, it's not me. Behind on NXT. So I've spent a lot of time. So when I've seen news about NXT, I've tried to ignore it a little bit. So I'm not entirely sure if what I've read is correct, but I will get some form of confirmation while you talk a little bit about NXT.
Oh, well, that's what I said. A quick look at them while you were talking. And it seems that it looks very much like he's fractured his wrist, and yet still fought last night. He's not been doing house shows. But yeah, it does look like... I don't know if he'll drop the belt or if he'll just keep story building from the back. But yeah...
Right, so we've both... I was going to say, we've both got results up now, yes? So we're both looking at results. So what should we do, a rundown of the card?
Yeah, can do, mate, yeah.
Right, so... Again, we can't comment on quality of matches or anything like that, but we can comment on a storyline basis on where they're going. So the first match of the night was the NXT title match with Matt Riddle versus Adam Cole. Now, I don't know if this is the match that he fractured the wrist in or not.
No, he didn't. He broke it at least over about 10 days ago, and yet still competed last night.
There's a good reason why he's one of my favourite wrestlers on the card. But this is Matt Riddle again, someone who... Hasn't he been on a bit of a losing streak coming into this?
Well, no, because he won last week, didn't he? Did he win the street fight?
Watched last week. No, I don't think anyone won the street fight.
That's why he got the... maybe I got confused. I thought that's why I thought he got the win. That's why he got the shot.
Did they do another street fight? Have I missed this? Because the street fight... So I've watched, again, the first show on USA. I've watched that, and at the end there's a street fight, and they only gave him 8 minutes. So you sit there going, 8 minutes for a street fight? There's something dodgy going on here, isn't there? There's some, and that was the ending in which Imperium got involved, and then the whole roster then got involved, and it broke down. So have they done another street fight since then?
No, that's right. Yeah, but from that they basically gave him a title shot the following week.
Okay.
I mean, basically Cole had like a cast on his wrist, and he avoided doing certain things, and just. It was a match. It's kind of, if you knew he was injured, then you can see what they're trying to do the whole way through. But it gets the win, and it wins with the last shot. And then something that really took me by surprise. Music hits. He's in the ring. He's won. Got the belt, and then Finn Balor walks out, and it's announced that Finn Balor is now a full-time NXT wrestler once again.
Well, this is a really interesting thing, and not just from the fact of Finn Balor being back in NXT. Is who else might they move across now? Because if NXT is now the third brand in its own right, because no matter what you said about it and all the rave reviews and how people like me would sit there and go, well, NXT is the best thing that WWE are doing right now, it was still a developmental brand. Like it still was in its place.
Yeah.
But now are we saying that in fact it is the third brand, and therefore these talents will be able to go there and not have to worry about being moved up? We've seen the Fashion Files, the Fashion Police, move across as well in recent weeks. So that's Fandango and Tyler Breeze. Again, two guys who have been tragically underused on the main roster. Tyler Breeze especially, who I really like. So is this a chance for these talents to be used and to create something big here now? Really big.
I think so. I've got a sneaky feeling that Kevin Owens might end up back there as well, given what his match is on SmackDown on Friday. His match on Friday night is a loser gets fired job, and I just wonder.
So is he not? So he's not fired anymore?
No, basically it's a winner takes all match. If he wins, then Shane McMahon's fired and can't go on TV again. WWE. If Shane McMahon wins, then Kevin Owens is gone from Raw and SmackDown, which would leave the avenue open then I suppose for Triple H to say, we'll have an NXT, then you come.
Because this opens up the idea of who else is being underutilized and would do well to move back to NXT. And this is a long list. Can you imagine how stacked that card could be? Well, you've got guys like someone like Aleister Black. You have to say either Andrade Almos. Cesaro has proved that he doesn't mind going back to NXT and wrestling those matches. Maybe he preferred to be an NXT wrestler as well, because he's not being used at all. And that's the only place where he's ever properly been appreciated. Someone like Ricochet. Ricochet's still in a position, isn't he? He's not being underutilized.
Yeah. No, so Ricochet's done really well, to be fair.
But then if you look a bit lower, you've got guys like EC3.
EC3, yeah.
I know tag teams like the Authors of Pain and those guys are doing. And Rusev seems to be in this weird cuckolding angle on Raw, whatever is going on with that. Because every week there's a new father of Maria's baby. So you've got but you could have such a stacked card, and when you compare that to the guys that are already there, Ciampa, Cole, Johnny Gargano, who I thought was going to move on when he did his talk a few weeks back, and then said, no, this is my home, this is where I'm going to stay. So you've got this stacked card now, and then guys like Pete Dunne as well coming up. This could really be something, and this is the most exciting night of the week now, because you've got NXT and AEW, both that I'm interested in. Any thoughts on anyone else moving across?
Not really. I mean, they've just got to be careful they don't overfill it like they have done the main roster. They've already got some good people coming through there, and to bring in lads from Raw and SmackDown and bring them back for that initial bump will put the guys who are there working hard now further down the pecking order. So they've just got to be really careful how they do it, and try and do it slowly over time and build the brand rather than just smashing a lot of people out.
But it's also, you have to use a certain amount of intelligence for it, but it's the chance of these guys to step up and match it with these guys, because I don't think someone like Ciampa or Gargano or Cole are any worse than guys like Balor is a special case because he's quite phenomenal, but they can hang with these guys. They can hang with Black and say Ricochet if he comes across, Kevin Owens. I think they can really hang with them. So what it does give you is a more interesting roster, a more diverse roster to work with as well as a wrestler. And then maybe we'll see the takeovers evolve in something maybe more regular, maybe bigger. So you give them 3 hours of pay-per-view and an extra 2 or 3 matches on that card. And you're giving all these guys maybe introduce another belt or two. Because at the moment you've only got the North American title. But then do you want to overfill it with titles? This is nothing. I'm not getting any of this from the notes. This is my brain doing its whole ADHD thing. So bear with me a minute, guys. But the storytelling on NXT isn't like the main roster, where they sort of need the titles to get anything going.
Yeah.
You don't need the titles. You just look at feuds and it's probably my favourite feud from recent times was the Aleister Black and Velveteen Dream feud, where it was literally a feud over him saying his name. That was the whole feud, but fans were into it. It was really well done, and it turned Dream. That was the kickstart for Dream. That's what started him on the path to this fan favourite he was, just because he wanted Black to say his name. And it was done so simply and so well, and it finished with Black gets to win and gets over. And then before he leaves, before he goes to the back, he turns around and says Velveteen Dream, and that's it. So technically both guys get the win, but both guys get over.
Yeah.
And it was just, so they actually have the intelligence and the writing staff to do that. So maybe you don't, and maybe, so hopefully more takeovers and bigger takeovers is what I'm hoping for from this. To compete against, because again, Saturday nights, this is AEW's pay-per-view Saturday nights. Takeovers can be Saturday nights. They compete really directly against each other. Although I don't know if they do pay-per-views on the same nights. I guess something like Takeover being the same day as All Out is a move towards that, but they didn't cross over at any point, I don't believe. They crossed over with New Japan, but I don't know how much stock Vince or anyone else holds in New Japan.
No.
Right. Talk over. Shall we get back to the card? Just quickly.
Yeah, I suppose so. Well, that was the main thing. To be fair, that was like the main thing that happened on the night. I think that's the thing that's taking all the headlines. Well, that and one other thing is the return of Thomas Ciampa, one of your favourites again. But obviously he's been out injured now for, what do you reckon, 4-5 months?
Well, yeah, and this is another guy who, him moving up to the main roster was always in doubt, because he's older now and he's now got this history of injuries. He's obviously someone that is injury prone, so he's not going to be able to cope with a main roster schedule. You're travelling and you're constantly on the road. I know NXT are on the road, but I don't think it's a gruel when you step up. I think it's like a little baby to get them ready for doing that sort of schedule. So it's so he's one of those guys where you're like, oh, he's really good. He's one of the most exciting things in the wrestling, and he is. As a heel goes, he is one of the top guys, and he all this stuff is his own idea. When he first started coming down without music, that's his idea. When he was coming down with t-shirts. When he first came back and he's come down with these really nicely designed T-shirts, and he's going, "Well, no, you guys can't buy these T-shirts. These are my T-shirts. I've designed them," and he did it all. So it's all from his mind and his idea. But he's not someone that is going to move up to main roster in that regard because they're not Vince's going to use him. So again, this has come maybe at the right time for him, and he will now carry on here and possibly finish his career in NXT. I don't know exactly how old Ciampa is. I don't think he's not. We're not getting the Zimmer favour from Malcolm just yet.
No, but, definitely not. He's still in very good nick when you look at him. So.
But I think he's up there for a wrestler basically.
Yeah.
34. So he's not actually as old.
Oh, not old.
I've been told that he's really old, but he's a vet, is what I should be meaning to say.
I was going to say, yeah.
And he's been in the lower leagues for a long time.
Yeah.
So is that the only other main talking point from it, do you think? Or
I think so, to be honest. Yeah. That's one of them things. I've only watched the quick highlight reel of what happened on the night, because obviously it's not out, like we said earlier, until later on today, which I'll watch it. I'll probably watch it again then. But yeah, they were the main talking points you could take from the show. I did a very similar thing for AEW, to be honest. I watched the same kind of highlights reel of what happened on there. It's called AEW Dynamite, which is, I seem like it's a very WCW name, that Dynamite.
This is what I was thinking. It's very 90s, isn't it? It's got that. But it's on TNT, isn't it, in America? So there's that logic behind
that link, I suppose. Yeah. But yeah, it was good. So again, that was. I think there's more people. I mean, if you're just looking at both events, then the AEW event looked like a lot bigger event. It looked a lot more like a Raw or a SmackDown. Bigger stage, more people in there. I think there's 14,000 people in there.
Yeah, but that's what they're aiming for, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I'm just saying, obviously, they're kind of starting at the same level, going to TV at the same time. AEW obviously have the bigger crowds already. They've got the bigger venues booked already, so it'll be interesting to see how far NXT goes in booking venue sizes and crowds and that kind of thing.
Brilliant. So what have we got? So it's a bigger crowd. So we start off with Cody versus Sammy Guevara,
yeah, which I didn't know him. He comes out with a panda head on his, he's got puts his head through a panda's mouth and wears it like a big mask. It's bizarre.
Okay, sure.
I know, I was a bit like that. But basically, yeah, I think the winner gets a shot at Jericho for the AEW title. It was a decent match. It was a bit NXT, a lot of false finishes. Off some big moves as well, where you probably expect the match to end normally, but they were still kicking out of it. It's weird seeing Cody Rhodes I never thought it was that good in WWE. And now it's kind of his thing, his company. He's making himself the main man. They've got the crowd giving him the Cody. He's a bit. I don't know. He's a bit sycophantic.
It's cult of personality.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And it's bizarre, but don't get me wrong, it was decent. From the highlights I saw, it was a decent match, and Cody's alright. It's not like he's not a good wrestler, and he wins the match. So he will fight Jericho. But I don't know, it's just a bit strange.
I liked Cody when he was at WWE. I felt the stuff he did with when he was the pretty boy Cody Rhodes or something, gorgeous Cody Rhodes. They did some fake divas poll of who's the most attractive wrestler, and he was supposedly won it. And so he started coming out saying, and then he got his face broken. He broke his nose or something. I don't know if that was real or kayfabe. But then so he came out as a grotesque Cody Rhodes. He had the mask on, and he was embarrassed and a bit broken as a person. I thought that work was really good, and I felt like he should have been rewarded for that more. The Stardust gimmick, while it was great as a gimmick in a rivalry, him and Goldust should have been killed a long time before he left. The thing that gets me about Cody and AEW is they take a lot of shots at Triple H, and about him building up WWE to enhance his career and as a vanity project for himself, and to the point where they took he smashed a throne up with a hammer on the last pay-per-view, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Which I wonder if the whole thing where they broke the throne on Raw, the King of the Ring throne.
Yeah, I just wondered
if I just reckon that was I thought it was a nod to it, and we're not really that fussed about you really, but he very much seems to be building this up around him and as his own vanity project. So he's basically doing the same as Triple H does in WWE.
Yeah.
I find the whole thing just a bit like that, and it's this kind of personality around him. I that's what puts me off AEW, because I'm just a bit tired of that and of him. And you get the fear that he's going to make himself a multiple-time world champion, and will just end up like another Triple H, really.
Yeah, there is that worry. I mean, Jericho, I don't think looks that good either for his age. You know, it looks very blotchy. He came out at the end of this match and beats down Cody. He's obviously playing the big heel.
He's past the point of being a he would have retired. Most wrestlers would have retired by his age, wouldn't they?
Yeah,
48.
How old do you think it's 48? I was going to say it's about 48. So yeah. I just think, I don't know. I mean, he obviously still enjoys it thoroughly. And he comes out and he beats down Cody ahead of I'm guessing whatever their next pay per view is, that'll be the main match on that pay per view. But yeah, no, it was alright. You know, it was a decent match, decent.
Now you've singled out someone in here, and I know you listen to the Jim Cornette podcast like I do, so you've heard about him on there.
Yeah.
But you singled out MJF. What particularly interested you about him?
A bit of everything, really. No, he's very good on the mic. He's got a very good heel heat from the audience, you know. And his wrestling style was a bit different to what you normally see. He kind of mocked the other wrestler quite a bit, made him look stupid, tripping him up, that kind of thing. Some classic heel things that you don't really see that often anymore. I've heard other people talking about him, but never really seen. I've seen him once before, and yeah, it was interesting just to see what he had up in his locker. And no, I think he's got potential. I mean, the rest of the card, the stuff I've seen, it's just because I don't really know the wrestlers. I think, and I'm not invested in them. It's very hard when you're watching a highlight thing to really pick out anybody else, and I didn't, to be honest. There was a big match at the end, like a big 3 tag team match. We had Jericho at one side, and that was all right again. Cody comes in on that one, bit of a run in, you know. But no, it was decent. It was a decent show, and obviously they're building and trying to get used to week in, week out, doing different things. But no, as a whole, I thought it was all right.
So you're gonna be? Do you think you'll invest in it and watch it for 2 hours, or are you gonna peruse the hour highlights? Or
I'm probably gonna do the hour highlights, to be honest, unless it really grips me. Like I said, at the minute there was the odd thing that stuck out, but apart from that, I was struggling a bit with it, to be honest. It was good to see. I mean, obviously John Moxley, Dean Ambrose, he made an appearance. They're running, and bizarrely, now I didn't, because I don't keep track of where he's been and what I've been doing. But Jack Swagger, or now he's called Jake Hager. He's obviously signed with AEW, and he does a run-in. He looked good, actually. He's a big guy. Forget how big he was, and he did a bit of a run-in, beats down Cody then as well. So they're obviously adding to the roster all the time, with some familiar names. So stuff like that will keep me interested, I think.
Brilliant. I liked Jack Swagger news thing in WWE. Most recently, I think he's been doing MMA. Again, he's got the amateur wrestling background to help him with that. But no, I'm quite excited to see him in something. So I will be giving it a view tonight, and we'll get back to you guys about it. Maybe a little bit next week. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll always do that. I was going to say, because it's a weekly thing now, isn't it? You know, it's like Raw and SmackDown. I think over time it might grip us a little bit, but for now it's just a bit of a wait and see.
Well, yeah, I can't comment for myself because I haven't seen any of it. I haven't had the luck, not luck. I haven't been able to sit down like Chris has and watch the hour highlights or whatever, wherever he's found that, whatever. Because I've my work has been this morning, whereas Chris's work is this evening. So this evening I'll be watching it while Chris is filming sweaty men around the pitch. Right, let's take a break on that note. That's all right. I'm often quite nice about your work, so I feel like I need to insult it a little bit.
Thanks.
Let's take a break, and we'll come back and we'll talk about Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, listening to Life Junkies podcast.
So, Hell in a Cell. Well, in fact, let's talk about Raw and SmackDown for a bit first. Set the scene, because we've only got 3 matches to talk about for Hell in a Cell. So that'd be a fairly short podcast. I know we talked a bit about NXT and AEW, but yeah. Let's first have a word about Raw and SmackDown. So we've got the new comms teams on both Raw and SmackDown. Word is that what's his name? Paul Heyman. That's it. I can't believe I forgot Paul Heyman's name for a second. Paul Heyman. Of course, he's in charge of Raw. It's in charge. He's still got Vince on his shoulder, as we're about to point out. He wanted Vic Joseph and Dio Maddin as his play-by-play and analysts, respectively. I've heard a bit of Vic Joseph's work. He's on 205 Live. I believe he was also the guy in NXT UK, so I quite like him.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything from Dio Madin.
No, never heard of him before.
So, but apparently the word is that Paul Heyman has heard both of them, likes their style, likes that a bit different, and went for them. And then Vince said he had to have a veteran on just to make sure the two young lads on track. Which, to be fair to Vince, if you're suddenly shoving these two young guys, inexperienced guys, onto the main show, because Raw is the main show, you're sort of asking for trouble a bit. So I get why you'd want someone like the King, Jerry Lawler, on. I think it'd be an interesting team. Chris, what do you think?
I thought it worked well, to be honest. I was very surprised. I thought, the season premiere of Raw, I thought Michael Cole would be on there, but I suppose because SmackDown's going to a new channel, they're moving him across there to host that and give that the kudos to trying to give it. So, but no, I thought these lads did really well. To be fair, Dio Madden, I didn't really hear that much from on the programme. I never really noticed that. Is that a good thing? Possibly they weren't noticing things that he disagreed with or errors. But yeah, I mean, it's going to take a while for him to get into the swing of these three guys working together week in, week out. So I just hope that they give them time and then see how they are in, say, 3 months down the line.
Well, this is it, and they've jumped it. These guys have jumped up quite a bit over some more experienced guys. Actually, guys that I quite liked. So who you're seeing now is on SmackDown. You've got Michael Cole and Corey Graves. Now, the information I've got here is it's Cole as play-by-play, Graves as analysis, and then Renee Young is listed as a special contributor. So I don't know what that means, whether that means she won't be part of a booth and it'll be back to a two-man booth, or I know you think they want Renee Young on.
Yeah, I think she will be there. I think they just gave her that title. I still think it's the same three of them. That's just her title.
Well, see, this is the interesting thing, that Jerry Lawler on the Raw team is listed as an analysis, so you'd think you haven't got a special contributor on Raw. So I don't know if it's a led thing or what's going. Word is that Vince wants SmackDown new a show, because that's going to be his show presumably.
Was that not Bischoff's show?
This was the talk that Bischoff was coming in, but it seemed then that Bischoff was going to be more like a go-between between Fox and WWE.
Okay.
Because he has contacts there. So while he's at SmackDown, I think he's generally the guy running the to-do things on SmackDown.
Yeah.
I think what you're going to see is, because of course Bischoff will be very much a yes man, I believe, to Vince. I don't think he's really got that much creative juice left in him, to be honest. If you've seen any of his recent stints, I know it's not particularly recent, but for example, when he's in Impact, he was very much more a character there than a creative person behind the scenes. And when him and Hogan tried to get creative, it all went wrong. So I think he's going to be more making sure the showrunners doing their job. I think Vince will be the majority of the and pushing it, which leads to an interesting time for WWE, because then you've got Raw, which is a Heyman-led show, NXT, which is a Triple H-led show, and then SmackDown, which is a Vince-led show, which gives all three of them, and I've talked about this before, it gives all three of them their own personality as a show, and allows these guys to shine. And what it will also do is, because they're supposed to be bringing back the black brand split again, getting rid of what do they call it? The wild card rule. And so they're legitimately going to be fighting with these talents. They're going to, not physical fighting, but there's going to be discussions had of, well, I really want this person, or okay, I'll trade you this person for this person. Which again, you're going to have more diversity in your rosters, so you're going to have a roster that looks like you want it to look more, and you're going to be pushing the guys that you really like. So I think it's an exciting time to be a WWE fan, and I'm tempted to stick my toes back in and see what they're doing, and they've both got different sets as well, which is another thing. Pyro was back on Monday, wasn't it, as well?
Yeah, I thought Raw was really good on Monday. I thought it's one of the... I mean, obviously they brought in the names, it was the big show, the big opening, so you weren't seeing Titus O'Neil. You weren't seeing people like...
You're not seeing Titus O'Neil normally.
You see him running around with the 24/7 championship, but you don't see people like that. And they did have... You had Becky, you had Sasha, you had Hogan, Flair, Rollins, The Fiend, Brock, weird thing with Bobby Lashley. They kind of brought out people you've not seen for a while, the big names from the past and the big guns now, and really gave it a big push, which I'm guessing they're going to do a very similar thing on Friday as well for SmackDown, because we already know they're getting The Rock. which is a big call to bring The Rock in for a show. He's obviously not going to be having a match, but who knows? With your favourite pay-per-view just around the corner, they might set something up, for that.
It's it's a weird this whole thing. And what was this thing with Bobby Lashley and Lana? Because I've seen pictures of it, and it's supposed to be an uncomfortably long kiss.
So they asked Rusev earlier in the night where Lana was, and he refused to answer, and he just looked solemn. And then when he's in the ring against Rollins for the title, he throws Rollins outside the ring, turns, and then Bobby Lashley's music hits. And Bobby's not been on TV probably for 2 months, probably since the thing with Braun. So he walks out, and you're thinking, all right, what's going on? And then he holds his arm out. Lana's music hits. She comes out, and he's just stood there in the ring staring at them. And then they start to make out, and she's wrapping her legs around him. He's basically feeling her up, and it goes on for a little bit too long. And then the Fiend's music starts to hit, and the show goes off the air. So yeah, it was a bit of a strange one. Whether or not they're just trying to bring in a few storylines now, so whatever channel, whatever show they move to, they've got stuff to run with straight away. I don't know, but yeah, it was a strange one.
Do you think Paul Heyman has something that he needs to get out of his system to do all this stuff? Like he's delved into some niche websites online, and he's seen some things, or something's gone on in his personal life. Because it's the weird one with Mike Kanellis, of where everyone appears to be the father of her baby apart from her actual husband, and now this with Rusev, where with Bobby Lashley and stuff. I don't know. It's just I don't know. I feel like we're watching EastEnders rather than wrestling, and I know wrestling is very much a soap opera in itself when it's at its best. But,
yeah, I think that's what he's trying to do, isn't it? He's trying to put more storylines in there that are away from wrestling as well as within wrestling to give it a bit of a different look. And he's just trying to run with it, I suppose. Well, it's one of them things now though that it might be quite interesting to see what happens next. So it does kind of work in that way that you're not just wanting no-name matches.
It's got everyone talking.
Yeah, exactly, which is his job. So yeah, fair enough.
So should we move on to SmackDown?
Yeah, the SmackDown we couldn't possibly have seen yet.
Well, no, but you've obviously got some idea of what's going on it. So you've got Brock versus Kofi here. What's going on there?
Yeah, so last week Kofi's in the ring, and then a bit of a surprise really. So I can't remember the last time Brock was on SmackDown, but his music hits, comes out and challenges Kofi to a match. Yeah, so that's going to be the match on. I think it's something like 15 years since Brock's had a match on SmackDown, and he will do it. It's for the title. It's on Friday night. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I did forget to mention actually when we spoke about Raw earlier. The opening to Raw was really good. You had Rey Mysterio come out first, who should have had a title match that night against Seth Rollins. He's in the ring doing some mic work in his street clothes. Thanks his son Dominic for coming. And then Brock's music hits. He comes down, dishes a couple of F5s to Rey, drags Dominic out of the crowd, and beats the living crap out of him, really. And to be fair to Dominic, he takes a really good bump. There's a few times where Brock throws him, and he does really well. He really sells it well, and Brock just goes on to beat them both into a pulp, basically, and then leaves. And Dominic gets on the stretcher, they both get took to the hospital and things like that. But yeah, it was cool. I thought it was a really good way to open a show. I kind of think now, though, that lets the cat out of the bag as to what will happen on Friday, because surely Kofi can't beat Brock clean. I don't think they'll give Brock the title straight up, so the only way around it is a DQ, and the DQ, would I reckon, is Rey Mysterio coming in to avenge his son with a chair or something like a chair and take Brock out.
Well, see, the word, what I've heard is that this is moving towards a Cain Velasquez fight for WWE. I don't know how they tie in. I don't know a massive amount about Cain Velasquez. I presume he's Latino. If we're attacking Rey Mysterio, I presume they're going to tie that in. But no, that's what I've heard about it. We're moving towards that. But no, a Rey winner would be quite nice. But what I'm really looking forward to see is a completely clean Kofi Kingston victory over Brock Lesnar, and him making himself known that he is the superior force in WWE and the dominant man. Yeah, well, that's what I'm hoping for.
Because you're like a 5-year-old boy.
Oh, grumpy. And of course, this all leads into the fact that there is no Kofi match at the moment at Hell in a Cell.
No. which is strange, and surely there will be. So maybe, I don't know, you just don't know. I'm second guessing. Maybe Brock wins, Kofi wins it back at Hell in a Cell. Maybe Brock gets a rematch at Hell in a Cell and wins the title there. Because surely he will have a match at Hell in a Cell. Unless Brock destroys him in such a way that he has time off for a while.
Well, this seems slightly ridiculous that we're this close to a pay-per-view. We've only got 3 matches.
48 hours when it comes around to it, won't it?
Announced. Yeah, so you feel like you should be selling this for something other than Hell in a Cell, and you know a bit more than me. Are any of these matches Hell in a Cell matches, or are they just matches?
So Fiend and Rollins is Hell in a Cell, and
for no apparent reason.
Becky and Sasha is in the Cell.
Okay, so that's the Cell matches. Then
Yeah.
you can probably fit one more in, but I don't think you'd want to.
No.
It just strikes me as, I know they don't really need to sell the pay-per-view like they used to have to, but you'd think you want to generate some excitement or some interest.
Yeah.
But Vince knows what Vince knows.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've got on Friday, like we spoke earlier about Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon. Theirs is a ladder match, and they're going to suspend the contract above the ring, and whoever gets the contract down gets to fire the other person.
I can't imagine that Shane McMahon is getting himself fired.
Unless he wants time out.
Yeah.
Unless he wants. He's been on TV for a while now, and unless he just wants the time out away from it for a while. But then again, like I said earlier, maybe Owens drops to NXT. We just don't know. It'll be an interesting one to find out and see what happens.
So shall we segue from that into Hell in a Cell and what's been?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you've not mentioned the biggest thing that happened on Raw because of your favourite pay-per-view just around the corner. We had cameos from Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan. And the match that's going to be at Crown Jewel, which I'm sure you're very excited for.
Well, this is an odd one, and I've made my feelings about Hogan well known. I think his apology was half-assed. Flair is an odd one because he was apparently suing the WWE for the man T-shirts.
Yeah, it was weird, that, isn't it?
So I don't know whether this is part of the agreement that they can sell the man T-shirts without him causing a stink, and he'll get a nice big Saudi oil blood money payoff.
Yeah, possibly.
I feel like I've made my feelings on. A Flair Hogan match. That's just going to be depressing, right? Surely.
It's not really a Flair Hogan match.
Will you see it?
You know that, don't you? You know what match it is, don't you?
What?
It's Team Flair v Team Hogan.
So is this a confirmed thing?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were stipulating.
No.
Oh, I didn't realise it was an actual
so
thing.
What happened is they came out to do Miss TV, sat across from each other. And then Flair started to say, "I'm sick of this. I'm a 16-time world champion. You've stolen my thunder all these years." And he says, like, "Fair enough. You've brought the money and you've done this, but when it comes to what happens in this ring, there has never been a wrestler who can hold a candle to me." And still not, and like slaps him or something. Then Hogan's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" And then you've got the crowd chanting, "One more match, one more match." And I'm thinking, "Oh no, can you imagine these two 70-year-old guys?" And then, so what they decide to do, then The Miz goes, "No, what we're going to do is, at Crown Jewel, it's Team Hogan, Team Flair, your captains, 5 wrestlers each, pick who you want, and you're going to go head-to-head in a match at Crown Jewel." To which point Hogan says, "Right, fair enough then, we'll do that. Here's my captain." Seth Rollins comes out. So Seth Rollins is captain of Team Hogan. He comes out, throws a bit of shade at Flair, says he had to accept Hogan's offer because he was his hero as a kid. And then Ric Flair grabs the mic and goes, "All right, fair enough. If he's your captain, here's my captain." And Randy Orton comes out. So Team Flair is captained by Randy Orton, and Team Hogan is captained by Seth.
It's just so depressing, isn't it? The whole thing. At least they're not doing a Flair versus Hogan match.
They will get involved. They will get involved.
They'll get. Yeah, but it's getting involved is one thing, and having a short bit in a tag team match or whatever is something else. But there's as Undertaker and Goldberg showed us that working a full match when and they're quite a bit younger than both Flair and Hogan.
Yeah.
Working a full match when you're that out of it, when you're still a bit ring rusty is not always the best idea.
No, very true.
Right. 2 wrestlers that are still very much able to wrestle. Let's start off our Hell in a Cell coverage. I know we've entitled this podcast Hell in a Cell Preview. We've now been for over an hour and we're only just talking about the first match.
True.
Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan versus Eric Rowan and Luke Harper, otherwise known as the Bludgeon Brothers. Chris, what are your thoughts?
It's been a long way around to this match, with Eric Rowan now becoming quite a major character on SmackDown as a heel. obviously Luke Harper's returned, and I think most people would have thought he was going to head off to AEW. So yeah, it's an interesting one. They've kind of teased the Daniel Bryan return to face mode, babyface mode. Last week he was getting the yes, yes, yes chants from the crowd, and he didn't go as far as to put his arms in the air and stuff, but you kind of felt that WWE might have seen that and thought, actually, you know what, he's better as a face to them, for kids, for the crowd. There's the potential that Reigns and Bryan win this and Bryan goes full face, or it's all been a massive, wicked, dastardly plan of Daniel Bryan's all the way along to trick Roman Reigns, and then at some point in this match there's a 3-man beatdown on him, setting up Reigns v Bryan at Survivor Series.
Right, so we haven't got any predictions written down for these matches. As I said, the notes were very hurriedly to get put together. Can I nail you down on a prediction?
Yeah, I'm gonna say Reigns and Bryan win.
I am just to keep up with pretenses. I'm gonna go on a Rowan and Harper win with Bryan turning on.
Cool.
I think it's going to be all a big master plan, and we'll see.
Every chance.
Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks. Is this the time when is it time for Becky to lose that title?
I kind of think so. I kind of think she's reached the top of her mountain at the minute, and she's sliding back down the other side of it. Kind of a bit stagnant, looking for stories. Sasha's come back quite well. Giving her the title might just give the story a boost for a bit longer. So yeah, I just think that maybe now is the time to take it off her. Whether or not it involves Bayley maybe coming down so she doesn't lose any face by losing the match, but because it's in a cage, it's in the cell actually, isn't it? So I don't know how that would work, but I don't know. Who knows? I just think that something's going to happen that this is finally the time where she's going to lose the belt.
Yeah, it sort of. I hate to say it, but yeah, she's getting a bit, and I think you need to give Banks needs the belt now to save her return. If they got away with it a bit at the last pay-per-view with the ending, but I think now she has to get the win and she has to get the belt. Otherwise, you're gonna start looking at it, you've now failed.
Yeah,
trying to do.
I agree.
I don't think it particularly hurts Becky to lose the belt now as well. I think she works quite well as a chaser.
Yeah.
Probably better than she works as a champion. So for her to let off it a bit, and maybe just be able to be herself without worrying about the belt and anything like that, and have a few feuds like that, might be good for her.
Yeah, no, I could go along with that.
So we're both going for Banks?
I think so, mate, yeah. Lock it in.
Oh, we can't agree. We're not allowed to. People will get upset. Our one listener will get upset.
Yeah.
So, and it's the match that we're all excited for. Seth Rollins versus Bray Wyatt, The Fiend. There's no way Seth's walking out of the belt in this one, is there?
I don't know.
Surely.
I can't. I genuinely don't know where they're going to go with Bray. You can't get him beat legitimately so early. It'd undo so much good work. But then again, do you want him to have the title? So he's on Raw or SmackDown, whatever it'll be. It'll be Raw every single week. And then by that, you've probably seen too much of him then. He doesn't become.
Does he need to be on Raw every single week?
As champion, when you launch, yeah, possibly. I mean, yeah, I think that's what they want. I think that's why they took the title off Brock in the end, because they wanted somebody like Seth that's there or has a presence, at least has a presence like a Firefly Funhouse or something. But even that would become a bit repetitive after a while.
Why they took the title off Brock? Did you just say that? Brock Lesnar, who since the Universal title has come in, has held it combined for at least over a year, maybe a year and a half or longer. He's had it more times than anyone else has. They kept going back to it, and I know you keep going back to him because he's a draw and this and that, but they weren't bothered that he wasn't resting every week. What you do is you allow Bray to show up. He shows up and wrestles on the pay-per-views, and he does his Fiend shtick, and he's really dark, and he's that draw. But you don't necessarily on Raw every week.
No.
Or if you do feel like you need him, pop him on a Firefly Fluff, then have that, or just have him show up and attack someone. It's that as long as he's a foreboding presence, and different wrestlers, I feel like you have to book people differently. And the way you can get around with Brock issues is having Heyman come out and be his mouthpiece.
True.
The way you get over issues like the Fiends is I think not having him every week adds to that darkness, but also it's going to feel a bit like he's stolen the title, which is good for the character.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I think I said it in the last pod, and I still think a great way to do it would be have the Fiend win, and then just leave the title draped over Seth and leave, and then the next
Mm.
on Raw, whoever comes out and holds the title, even if it's Vince, how good would that be? That Vince opens up Raw next week with the title saying the winner of the fight is Bray Wyatt, doesn't come out, is Bray Wyatt, doesn't come out, then the music hits. You know, it's because lights go out, wakes up, gives him the mandible claw, leaves the title draped over his face. So then Vince says, right, he's not having it. It's a tournament, so who's going to be the thing? Whoever wins it next. The Fiend doesn't appear until then, but does the same thing to him, leave the title. So it becomes this chalice that nobody wants because the Fiend will strike. I think that's quite a cool story that you could run with for a while.
That is really dark, and I really like it. Like if they don't do that, if they do anything that's not quite as good as that, it's going to be roomy. So thanks, Chris.
Yeah. Alright. Like ruining pay-per-views since early 90s.
The more I think about that, the more I like it. At first, I was like, where's he going with this? But no, it's that idea of anyone that gets the title gets attacked by the Fiend, but the Fiend has no interest in the title. It's just trying to make a statement.
Yeah, that's I think it'd be pretty cool, and to do it to Vince as well would be cool. Yeah,
right, so
it only took about 12 podcasts for you to find something that you agree with me on.
We agreed on we just agreed a minute ago on Sasha Banks winning the women's title. I don't. So what, we both go? What? So what is your? Because you seem a bit all over the place. Who do you think's winning?
Seth by DQ winning? By some weird. I don't know. Have you seen this stuff about the girl from the Riot Squad?
No.
You know, the blonde one,
winning?
pink hair. You know the pink hair?
Yeah.
What's she called?
Blonde one, pink hair.
Yeah.
It's either or, mate. You can't have both.
Blonde and pink. What was she called? Liv Morgan. Is that Liv Morgan?
Liv Morgan. Yeah.
Yeah, Liv Morgan. Have you seen her Twitter and how fans seem to think that she's now involved with the Fiend in some weird storyline?
No.
I was putting it on. Basically, she's been tweeting random, very strange things out for a couple of months, like numbers that decide for him to help me, and things about voices in her head, and the darkness is near, and all this kind of weird stuff. And then she put a picture on of all the pink hair being cut off on the floor, just the hair on the floor. And somebody she tweeted Bray or liked something, or Bray liked something that she did, and they were thinking that maybe that she's going to be the Black Witch from Firefly Funhouse, but in real form. So that's quite a cool thing, isn't it?
So sort of like how everyone expected them to do Sister Abigail before they decided to make Bray Wyatt cross-dress.
Yes, and she will be this character. I can't remember the name of the puppet. It's that's annoying. But whatever the name of the puppet that Bray gave the puppet,
is it Mercy the Witch?
That this will actually be a real incarnation of that puppet. So who knows? Put Bray down.
Well, is it Sister Abigail's the witch, isn't it?
No, Sister Abigail was when he was Bray Wyatt.
But the point of the Firefly Funhouse is it's pointing at all aspects.
Past.
Right, so all aspects of past. Sorry, I'm trying to Google and move the
Abby the
podcast
Witch
on as well.
It's Abby the Witch.
Is Abby, yeah. So Sister Abigail, yeah. So she could come out as Abby.
That's it, yeah.
Chris, that your miserableness and love of misery is coming to its own here. Talking about the Fiend.
That's it, you see, mate. This is where I excel in this area. Anything to do Undertaker Fiend quiet type thing, I'm a lot more interested in than coffee and pancakes like yourself.
And it's great because Fiend is the one thing that we can both agree on as well, that we like.
Yes.
So it's nice for that. I wish we'd been doing this podcast back when Batista was fighting, so we could have had an argument over which one of them. Because I know we would have disagreed, even though Batista is much more in your wheelhouse. He's too nice of a guy for you to ever like. Right. So what else is going to be on the card? Flair versus Bayley. Do you think that'll be another? Are they still feuding?
Well, I think there's SmackDown tomorrow. It's Becky and Flair v Sasha and Bayley. So maybe it'll come off the back of that.
Do you think we're leading to a Survivor Series match with respective teams?
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, possibly. I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? It's a strange one. I think I'd take the... Well, you already know that I would take the title off Bayley because she's awful. But I don't think they will. There'll be something else that goes on. But yeah, there's every chance that that'll be a match, Flair v Bayley. Then you've got people like Nakamura. Go on.
I was going to say, this is the question. Do you have Flair win the SmackDown Women's title as well? So then Flair leads her team versus Sasha's team at Survivor Series.
Yeah. And so Bayley will jump ship to Raw maybe in the draft pick to be on that team.
maybe. Do you think, as we're talking about, do you think maybe they're sort of trying to solidify the rosters now? This Brock moving to SmackDown to feud with Kofi is signs that he will be Vince's guy on SmackDown?
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, I think does it start next Monday, the draft? I think it does, doesn't it, on Raw?
Don't know.
So I suppose, yeah, I think the draft starts next week, so we'll see then, really, I think. It's going to be interesting to see what
I will sit down, I will watch Raw next week, because I do like a good draft.
Cool, but apart from that, I mean, there's the Intercontinental title, Nakamura, there's the US title, AJ Styles, there's the men's tag titles, there's always a cruiserweight match on the pre-show, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, anything else you can think of that might be on there?
No. It's a hard one. You think you put AJ Styles on there somewhere with US title, but you'd have thought he would someone lined up by now. I don't know if he's feuding with anyone.
I think if there's any matches involving them, the matches will be about what they've had on the last few weeks. So you'll have Nakamura v Ali, you'll have AJ Styles against Cedric Alexander, you'll have what's the truckers got, the Heavy Machinery will probably get a shot at one of the tag titles, and then cruiserweight, like I said, you'll have Gulak against Leo Rush, who's now the number one contender for that title. But that'll be on the pre-show anyway. So
Rush is an odd one that they're giving a push because he seems to keep upsetting people backstage and then he's into a prominent. So, but
yeah.
Obviously, if he's in he should be a pre-show match. But it's all a bit. This apart from the talking points we have, and we can have a nice chat about both women's matches. We can have a good chat about Seth versus Fiend and Reigns, Bryan, and Rowan and Harper is something that's interesting. It's not something that I'm really looking forward to, but it's an interesting feud of what they're going to do next anyway. Is the rest of it just not all a bit meh at the moment on the main card? Like, I've got no real desire to talk about anyone else.
I just think that obviously with the draft coming up, and maybe they haven't decided yet, put it down in concrete who's going where. So they're not doing too many storylines that then are going to be split by the brands. So maybe it's a bit, apart from your main storylines like the Fiend and Rollins and Brock and Kofi and things like that, and Bayley and Sasha, like the rest of the locker room, it's probably a bit up in the air where they're going to land. And when they do land, they're probably going to have to give them a bit of time, and then whoever takes that opportunity might get a decent shot at being a bit of a star for a while. But if not, it's just going to be, like I was saying earlier, people like Titus O'Neil and Shelton Benjamin just basically chasing after 24/7 title for the next 12 months.
So this is, and knowing Vince and how WWE works, I have no doubt that they are still that changes are still being made to rosters, and there's still debates going on between the three of them about who gets what and who's going where. It won't be signed into anything until the day that the shows happen, will it really? But that's sort of what makes it quite an interesting time, and I get this idea of everyone's going to have a chance to show what they can do. I do think it's unfair talking about guys like Benjamin and Titus O'Neil. Benjamin was obviously signed as a enhancement talent. Obviously, someone's not a fan. Someone's not a fan of Shelton Benjamin. I'm going to keep this bit in as well, just because. And Titus O'Neil is Titus O'Neil. He's never been great. I don't know how he's all there. When you first saw him as a bit of a not quite all there, I don't know. Being a fan of him, I don't know. But no, wrestling in general at the moment is very exciting. Hopefully we're going to see a change. We're seeing NXT take a step up. We're seeing AEW formulate something. Even Impact Wrestling has a new TV deal coming up. So it's an interesting time to be a fan. Trying to finish on a positive note after I've been a bit negative. Shall we move to the outro? And by we, I mean I may have lost Chris. So anyway, I will go on to the outro. Social media links. You can find me on Brazier25 on both Twitter and Instagram. You can find the Life Junkies on Twitter at @the_Life Junkies and on Facebook at the Life Junkies 25. You can find all of our work, whether it's podcast, video, or written, all on the lifejunkies25.wordpress.com. The most recent article out on there is our 9 review. but I will be reworking the website and the links at the top so you can get easier access to the main things that we're doing at the moment. You can also find back episodes of this podcast on YouTube. Not if you're listening on SoundCloud, you're not going to find the back episodes on there because you have to pay for that, and there's no money in the coffers for that. Chris still isn't paying his subscription to be on the podcast, so there's nothing for that. But you can find us all on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, then roughly now, in a minute, at some point, there will be a box coming up with a playlist on it. So if you haven't listened to the back episodes, you can go back and listen to that. And also, the video that I am shilling today will be the the Hell in a Cell preview. So you go have a look at how bad I was and how bad I still am, and let me know. It'll be a goodbye from me, probably not from Chris because he appears to have disappeared or been eaten by his dog. So good luck, guys, and we'll be back with a review podcast next week.